Yes, sir, man. Wonderful, beautiful day today. We had a lot of windy weather going on here, and got some wildfires over here in Arkansas, which is kind of crazy, man. I think they said it was 90 something fires or something weird. I know at one point in a while somebody was saying that it was maybe 30ish, and then we saw something about it being 90ish going on. But yeah. So man, hope everybody blessed out there in the world, man. Hopefully you're blessing yourself in a wonderful way and then letting that bleed on to other people and blessing them as well. Being a light for others. We here with, myself, mental coach Kev, and then the great Soundoff the General. Just in here
Yes,
for another
sir.
conversation, man. We down to earth guys, two down to earth spirits. So we call this conversation platform Down to Spirit. So what will we be talking about today? Sound off?
My spiritual journeys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spiritual journey. So
Yes, sir.
how was your how's your day though, man? How things going? How's your mental, today and how you
Uh,
feeling?
Mentally, I'm good. Just like everybody else. You have your little challenging days and have your moments where, you know, you might be frustrated with the job or anything like that. But outside of that, everything else is going wonderful.
Okay.
Everything's wonderful.
All right. So
How about yourself?
man, I'm doing great, man. I focus on like I tell people to I meditate every day, man. So I try to make sure that I, you know, consider mental health to be one of the top priorities, man. So I do that every day, man, and it's keeping me in a good space. Not saying that I don't get out of sync for every now and again, man, or get into a bad mode of thinking or emotional space, but I try my best to kind of stay on top of things, man. So I won't be thrown off just out of the blue by having a bad emotional experience. I can at least kind of try to get out ahead of it as much as I can. But yeah, to answer your question, man, I feel like I'm in a great mental space, man. I feel like God is dimming the lights or turning off the lights on the other paths that I look at as a possibility, and then shining the light on
Mm,
the path that's the path for me. So
mm,
yeah, and that's how things going now because I had a lot of different opportunities and different things that I could do, different situations and paths I could go down, but I just had a moment where it's like, man, wasn't nothing, just connecting. I had to just sit, pray, ground myself, and then pay attention. Listen, and in the midst of that, then I started getting guidance from there. Yep. So, and mentioning that, man, I know we talking about spiritual journeys, man, and a lot of people have a lot of different spiritual paths, man, and we do understand that the idea of spirituality versus religion, but religion and spirituality is all in the same category. Me personally, I one of my parents is Jehovah Witness. One of my other parents is how would I put it, classic Baptist, Southern Baptist or whatever.
mm.
I'm somewhere in between, and what's crazy, I'm going to a church now, man, and it's a church of the Nazarenes. So
Okay.
church in Rose City, Beacon of Hope, that I'm going to now, man. Just still trying to expand my knowledge in my mind, man. I'm not, against learning, what people have to say about God, man. I know people have different things to say about God and spirit. What's your experience, man, and your
Okay.
idea?
So I grew up in Christianity.
Uh-huh.
My father was a minister when he was a kid. He walked away from it. He still is Christian to this day. My mother's been, they're both Baptist, or I don't even know what Pops is, but Mom is Baptist. And so I used to be, I grew up in it, grew up in Christianity, growing up as a kid, off and on, started preaching, started being, as people say, a pastor or associate pastor or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want to say. Um, but then I started going to a place where things shifted for me. And it happened right around the time I started going to school when I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was a late, how would you say it, a non-traditional student. So I was married with a family as I'm attending college,
Yeah.
and my beliefs started to be questioned.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would sit there and when you're in church, you're indoctrinated by that, by that system or that thinking. You have preconceived notions about things. You have beliefs that may not always be truth,
Mm-hmm.
or they might be one truth.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like it was just interesting. You know what I mean? Like I ran across, like, for instance, um there was a situation where they sent me to go to a Buddhist temple.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, growing up Christian, you think, oh, this the devil, this demons, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I felt so much
Peace.
peace
Yeah.
when I was there, while they were doing whatever they were saying in their language. You know what I mean? I'm just like, man, I could go to sleep right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that peace. I feel calm. I feel cool. You know what I mean? So I that's helped shift me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we lost you off camera here, and then you might have to press on your screen on your device to put yourself in focus too. I think it was trying to figure out focus for you. But yeah, man, I know a lot of us we wondering, what's the spiritual path for us. A lot of us have different spiritual paths. A lot of us have different denominations that we subscribe to in reference to religion. And a lot of us do just carry the path of just being spiritual, man, and being open to accept, what internally we might get from God when we talk to God individually, And I've been having a lot of spiritual situations happening as I was in the studio, which, if some of you don't know, I had a recording studio for audio recording studio for 20 plus years. I quit my two jobs in 2004 and then been in the audio recording space running a recording studio all the way up until 2024, which is last year, around September or so, is when I ended up just cold turkey, just letting the studio go out of nowhere. But I started having some spiritual things happening that was leading me up to that decision. A lot of prophetic things happening with people that would be coming in the studio, some sort of sense of discernment. I felt like God started talking to me in a different way, in a more personal way. And it's crazy. I'll be in church and then it's like God will be talking to me as I'm in the church, kind of showing me, or giving me the feeling of tapping into, excuse me, how some of the people in church may be feeling, and just people in general. I might run into an individual and I'm just feeling their spirit of, like, them just feeling just extremely down, and it's like God giving me to mention it to them, like, hey, how you walking around feeling this way on the inside? So a lot of I don't know if you would call it spiritual gifts or whatever, or that connection with spirit and God got to connecting a lot more, and it started leading me in a direction of a new path. And sometimes in life, it's for you to pursue a new path. They say that you have a life purpose, so to speak, and that purpose may change, throughout your life. You might fulfill a certain purpose, then God or spirit might have another purpose for you. Now sometimes I might say, God or spirit, and it's whatever you subscribe to with your particular faith. And we're not here stepping on anybody's toes. And I feel like if a person does get offended by some of the things of people having different beliefs, then is that something for you to think about or reflect on within yourself, possibly? Because really, if we were to chunk up to the idea of what a lot of the faiths and beliefs and denominations are believing in, they are believing in a higher power for the most part. They're believing in the sense of love and oneness, and a lot of them have the idea of, hey, doing well to the people that's around you, considering other people to be an extension of yourself, your brothers and sisters, and then moving with love to where you would leave people in a better space than what you would leave them in a better space than when you met them, so to speak.
right.
So what's your ideas on that? I know you was we ended up losing you on the camera.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I got it on webcam, but it just kind of switched off a little bit.
Okay.
Um, but you repeat your question again?
Yeah, I was we had you let's see, you was speaking about some particular point
I
of
was just talking about my
your
spiritual
journey.
journey,
Yeah.
and so then there were other questions that
Mhm.
were posed to me, because I went to school for social work,
Yeah.
and so you know as a social worker, you would have to put your feelings aside or your beliefs aside and help your client. What if your client is Muslim?
Oh
What if your client is atheist?
yeah.
What if, you know what I'm saying? What
Mhm.
if they believe whatever? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it was an interesting situation. So I had, people that, that were gay, and that was the part that kind of got me, was like, you know, some parents that were Christian,
Mhm.
their child might be gay, and then next thing you know, they cut them off.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
unfortunately.
I can't, I can't vibe with that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Just because it's like that's not love. That's
Exactly.
not unconditional love. And the knowledge that I received from the Bible was that God is love.
Mhm.
You get
Yep.
what I'm saying? And so,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, when I think about that, it was just different little questions. So I going through school, meet Muslims, meet other, different backgrounds of religion. And so it got to a point where I kind of got fed up with church in general. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Because one thing I've learned is that in church and in religion as a whole, everybody believes their way is the way.
Mhm.
You talk to a Baptist, they believe their way is the way. You
Yeah.
talk to a Catholic, they believe their way is the way. You
Yeah.
talk to a Jehovah's Witness, they believe their way is the way.
Yeah.
You talk to a Muslim, they think their way is the way. You talk to a Buddhist, you know
Yep.
what I'm
So it's
saying?
like,
So
who
it's
right,
like,
huh?
yeah, so my thing was like, who's right and who's wrong?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I
Can
start feeling
every
like I
Go
start feeling
ahead.
like it's man, my mind and the spirit started leading me, and God started leading me to the idea of that, man, there's multiple paths, multiple roads. And some people don't, subscribe to that, which I understand, but I'm like, man, so you mean to tell me that these other individuals that practice a different faith than you practice, are just is over with for them, they just is gonna go to hell or not have any, not be able to see the abundance of the spiritual space after they pass or transition. I just, for some reason, man, my heart wouldn't allow me to settle into that. Now, I understand that's other people's, some other people's beliefs, which is cool. But the thing is, it's like true love, I feel like, is accepting the person where they are, understanding that they might have a different version of belief or mind system than you, because we are all individuals. Like if we go to the buffet, we going to get, different items on our plate. It's going to be rare that we come and it's like, oh man, we got the same portion and the exact same different items on my plate as you got on your plate. How rare is that be? If you go into a buffet and you looking at everybody individual plates, they plates are set up in an individual way according to their
Yeah,
taste, according to where they are in life. Because say they are in a place where it's like, hey man, the doctor told me, man, I get diabetes, or the doctor told me I get hypertension, I got high blood pressure. They plate gonna you're gonna it's gonna be a result of what they actually going through with that, or what they
exactly.
might like or what they've been exposed to. Some people, oh man, I ain't never ate no shrimp before, man. I ain't gonna try that. I remember my first time eating shrimp. And some people might, never had experienced this particular type of dish, and it's like they're gonna avoid it because they haven't never experienced it before. They don't even know what it tastes like. So with religion, and spirituality, it's like, man, people are going to have different paths. People speak different languages. Certain things resonate with different people according to where they are in life. And everybody's paths start from their particular. We all going to the same direction, but people path starts from their particular personal location. And shout out
Yeah,
to Sean Hartman. He ended up saying that. I think it's I forgot the actual philosophical person that actually mentioned that, or the spiritual person. But he ended up mentioning that to me. I think it was this past weekend. I was like, man, I like the way that that's put. He was like, man, yeah, your distance might be, for instance, it might be 5 hours for you to make it to this particular location because your house is over here or you in another city. Or this other person, it might be 20 some hours because they on the whole other side of the U.S. according to that particular location. If we look at it like that in the GPS form, and they might have to go through different roads, cross different bridges to actually get where they're going. Some people start off with a particular religion and then find a way going into a different space, right? So I think like, man, who am I, to judge this particular person on their path when that's God's job, you know?
exactly.
And then there's so many different things, man, that people don't realize. And I've been watching near death experiences a lot lately.
Yeah.
So with that, man, it's really interesting because it's like which one of us can take have an account on what happens after we actually pass away.
Right.
But we have these people who actually have passed away. they talking about the experience of, okay, I was here and it was this particular uh uh playground work type of place with all of these kids that were in this stuck space, and Jesus was there with them. Or this other person, oh, okay, this other spiritual being was over with me, kind of helped me guide me into the spiritual space in a comfortable way, But a lot of them have similarities in their story, like talking about, how all of the stress, the strain, the negative emotions, all of that stuff completely leaves, and they're in this complete place of total peace and love, right?
Right.
And I was looking at a person today, they was an atheist. And they talked about after they dying experience, what they experienced. This other person was Catholic, but they said that they start seeing a lot of the priests, kind of doing inappropriate things with the young kids and young men and all of this stuff. And it caused them to lose their faith. And then they was like, man, I don't believe in it no more. Because how would God allow this to happen to these particular kids, right? With somebody that's supposed to be a high religious figure according, in the space of my particular faith. So because of that, it caused them to lose their faith. But then after they passed, they experienced and mentioned some of the same things that this other individual said. Or you have this person that's a Christian that talked about after they passed and came back, but that time that they passed and the spiritual side, how it was for them. But one of the similarities that I see, commonalities, man, I always talk about this. You get an account on how you made every individual feel in your life. The people that you did good for, you can get that good feeling of basically from their standpoint, sitting inside of them, getting that good feeling of how you made them feel. And then you're able to see kind of a timeline of them moving out, pushing that love and experiencing that love, shining that love into other individuals that's around them. Think about how powerful that is. And the other side of it, the people who you hurt, who you said something negative to. Oh, okay, when I was a kid, I DDT'd my brother off of the bunk bed. You know what I'm saying? And it made him. And then you step into the way he felt in that, or felt in that particular moment, to get an account of how you actually hurt this person, right? And one of the people
Right.
was talking about how they hurt one of they sister or brother or something, and they said something to them because I guess they was nagging them and they was irritated, so they said something real crazy to just get them to get off of them and to leave them alone. And they thought it was light, but then when they was in the spiritual realm after they had that death experience, that they was able to feel how they had made them feel, man, and it just bothered them so much. Some people, they actually come out of that space and then they'll go and apologize to that person, right? So
Right.
that has to be something powerful. And a lot of us feel like we know how it's going to be according to some of the spiritual context that we read, that, oh man, this is how it's going to be after I pass. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be right here with God, or I'm going to be here, with Jesus, or blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be here with whatever spiritual figure a person subscribed to. But according to these people that's having these particular near death experiences, they're saying a different thing. And a lot of them have a lot of commonalities. But one of the main things is love, right? Loving
Right.
another person like you would love yourself, or want to love yourself. Hopefully, you're in a space to where you can love yourself in the greatest way. But love in a way of someone being like a mirror image of you, forgiving somebody else, like you looking at yourself on the other side of that mirror, and you are the individual that did that wrong to yourself. How would you forgive that person? you know. And that's why I always go back to the idea that, man, work on yourself, self improvement. Once
Right.
you enhance your own mind, once you enhance your own spirituality, once you get in a better place of cleanness and oneness with God, and then in a better space of love, then you're gonna move through the world in that particular way, because you're gonna know the difference, between, how it would feel to not be loved versus being loved, and how much power love is instead of, the opposite ends of the stick. So
Yeah.
what you think, man? What's
Yeah,
your thoughts
man.
on that?
Nah, man, I feel all of that, man. Man, it made me grin and smile hard, man, when you was talking about like, the fact of love. You know what I mean? Like the one commonality, common denominator is love. Like, at the end of the day, my journey, um I've gotten away from trying to control how somebody else lives their life, or have thoughts and opinions about how somebody else lives their life,
Mm-hmm.
or or negative hate vibration energy, or hate feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I try to love people. Like, I try to love people how I would want to be loved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I try to look out for people, and it's and sometimes loving that individual might be leaving them alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or to love yourself. You know what I mean? You love them enough to let them go.
Yep.
So like I just I felt what you were saying. You know what I mean? And especially when you mentioned and you hit on um love is our journey is basically our perspective or where we're geographically at. Because that was one of the things that I had come to came to in an episode one time. You know what I mean? My thought was like, it was Christian rooted, but it was like, okay, well, most times there are issues in communication breakdowns
Mm-hmm.
because there is our our definition of what words mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So conversation breakdown for me, bad might mean the kid is terrible.
Yeah.
But to somebody that's older, bad might mean, okay, man, that's a nice outfit.
Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And so it's kind of like, I got to a place where I realized that, you know what I'm saying, we're all split up by different languages and different contexts and different locations and all these things that separate us. And it's like at the end of the day, you know, I came to that place too. How could, God send somebody that way to a forever place when they may have not had that experience to come in contact with God in that way. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I just got to a place where it's like I said, I just focus on love. You know what I mean? Like there's so many conversations, like, for somebody that is mentally ill,
Mm-hmm.
like myself, you know what I'm saying? Do you hold them accountable for what they did when they were battling illness? Or do you
Yeah.
give them grace for that? What about the
Exactly.
kid that has autism or Down syndrome or that is mute and deaf?
Mm-hmm.
Do they suffer for eternity or do they get grace? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the person that's Muslim in Africa that's never even heard about God in that way.
But they
Do
got a
they go?
scripture in the word. They got a scripture in the Bible that they talk about, as far as everybody will, hear, God's name or have a, something in reference to that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Everybody
and
will
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
Yeah, I know you
no.
know that, more than I do. Before we go down that road, though, you mentioned episode. You said when you was
Yeah.
having an episode. What did you mean by episode?
Okay, so I was having a manic episode. I'm bipolar type one, which is, the best way to say it is just temporary mental insanity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you have some, wherewithal with yourself. You know what I mean? You have some mental faculty, but it's skewed.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do I want to say? It's kind of hard to explain in a quick few seconds.
Ah, okay, okay. So that
But
might be something that we need to talk about in
yeah,
the
yeah, we need to do
episode
that in a
topic wise.
whole
So we're gonna do that
podcast.
in the future topic. But I just want to say that, man, you never people out there, you never know what people are going through, what mental space they in, what mental illness they may be dealing with. So if we be so quick on flashing out on a person because a person did something wrong or said something crazy to us or whatever, did something that we felt like was unideal to the, how we would want it to be, um, flashing out on them so quick, you could be dealing with a person that's just dealing with a mental challenge. I done seen some police officers dealing with, a kid that may be autistic or, slightly, have a mental issue or something going on.
Yeah,
And then
man, it's
they not
crazy.
taking that into consideration and they sitting treating them like they would treat a regular person because they feel like they disobeying, but they don't know that, okay, this person's actually autistic. When you do this, when you talk loud in this particular way or do this to them, then it's going to kind of rile them up, but they don't know that.
Right.
And I don't know what type of training officers get in that actual mental space area, but I pray that we get to even as people outside of officers moving through the world as a person to have that sort of empathy and understanding and to even want to know that people are dealing with challenges some days. Don't just be so quick to respond with, anger or negative emotion just because somebody did something that you feel like offended you or rubbed you the wrong way. What is that person going through? How has their day been? You know what I'm saying? What they dealing with at home? This person could have just had the greatest person that they love in the world. They could have just lost them that day or the day before. You never know what the person going through. They might not have ate in 5 days. You know what I mean? So that's part, go back to the thing of like, treating people like you would, want the person to treat you. And hopefully that's from a space of you understanding yourself, understanding how, close you are to God and how amazing of a person that you are, to where you can love yourself in a way to where you can see other people through the lens of that, you know what I'm saying? And be able to give them that sort of love. And back to what we was going, I think we was going down the road of, it was somewhere we was going down the road of that I
You talking
just
about
took
the
out of.
mental scripture about everybody hearing.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't quote that one, but I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
When you talk about everybody will hear Jesus' name, and but
Yeah.
my issue with that is like I've been in the different parts of the world where they are predominantly a certain religion. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, in Africa, they're like 98% Muslim there. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So for me, it's kind of hard to say, in other parts of the world where they have no hearing, no recollection,
Mm-hmm.
that they would, basically eternal damnation because,
Yeah.
they haven't confessed or believed or, any of that. And I'm not knocking anybody that believes different or says different. That's where I am in my place.
Yeah.
Where I'm at in my place is that, you know, it's about love.
Man, and some of us get so annoyed by hearing somebody mention something that's of a different belief system of what we are locked into, you know, and I, in my personal opinion, man, I feel like, man, we can get more in the space of love and understanding of, man, people just having a different beliefs and a different, uh, they on a different part of their journey, you know what I'm saying? They on a different road that may be far away from yours. And we can't expect everybody to be on a similar road or on a similar part of the path that we're on. And I feel like with love comes that, that understanding. With love is like, okay, let me meet this person where they are. Let me not try to force everything on them or my actual opinion and my beliefs on them, because I feel like it's the right thing and it's the end all be all. You know what I mean? That's like a person listening, hey, you don't eat black eyed peas. Come on now. How don't you eat black eyed peas? Who do I don't know nobody that don't like black eyed peas. I know some people do. My wife don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like people come to it, listen here, just eat these black eyed peas. It's New Year's time, whatever. So you want to have good luck, don't you? You want to, and it's like you basically talking to a wall trying to convince, I'm saying, her to try to eat them junks because it's like
Yeah.
she don't like them. Some people just don't like certain things, or they don't know what they don't know, and they just on a different path than you are. So we can just move through the world, hey, be strong in your faith, because I know you're mainly responsible for your soul. And one of the things that came to me is I was in one of these churches, man, and it was a magical moment and experience that had happened where
Yeah.
we'll show this the video later, and this is one of the things that happened as my journey was transitioning out of the actual studio. But as I was there, it's like God was giving me the ability to feel how people was feeling in there. As I seen people, running around and you know, praising them in a particular way. People was laying covers on people, you know what I'm saying, and different things of that sort. And I hadn't seen much of that before. I seen, a lot of different things in the Baptist churches that I've been in from time to time. But in that particular moment, man, this is what I got from God. This is my personal thing that I got, which was, okay, some of these people in this church here feel like they have to do an outward expression of something to actually get closer to me, but really they may consider going the opposite way and going inward. That is the way to get to me, because what's your closest connection to God? Going inside. You know what I mean? Inside is where your spirit lies. I know it's the difference between the spirit and soul. We can talk about that one day. But inside is where your spirit lies, and where your spirit is, that's where that's what's more closer connected to God. the spirit that we have is tainted by the world as we come in as a kid, and then we are in a specific environment, you know, to where we in this particular family structure that we're in, and we getting taught things that we necessarily didn't have no input on, you know, telling them how do we want it to
Exactly.
learn, you know what I mean? So then we started getting swayed by the world. That's why some kids, you know, come into this world with a genius type of mentality, or they might still be connected to, you know, God, to where they see, you know, certain, you know, spirits or angels, whatever you want to call them, around them. And then what we tell them, who are you talking to? Imaginary friend. Get off of that mess. You know what I'm saying? Imaginary
Yep.
friend. You talking crazy, whatever you did. And we just steady push our kids and each other. You just went off the camera, out of that
Yeah, I
space.
saw that.
So, you know, just moving them away from their actual spiritual connection. But that spiritual connection that was there, you know, before we get tainted by the world, is actually what's more deeper connected to God and spirit. But anyway, that's what I got. You know, if anybody gets anything from that, cool. Hope it doesn't ruffle too many feathers. But as we say, we moving in this space out of love. We here talking with love. We just expressing how we feel, and a lot of people have these different feelings and emotions and things that come up in their mind. And I know a lot of times people feel scared to question certain things. So it's like, man, am I not appreciating God by having this particular concern or question? One of the books I read that was interesting too, that kind of is in that space, is I think Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I think it is pretty interesting
Mhm.
book. So I think you might still be froze, but I can hear you. But yeah, in that particular book, old Neil had he had a gripe with God. He was like, man, I'm in a negative health space. Excuse me, negative health space. I'm not in the proper relationship space or financial space. This an older gentleman. Things weren't going well in life. He just had this big gripe with God and got to just talking, you know, crazy on how he felt to God. I'm saying crazy, but it was the way he felt. And then God started talking back to him. Now, some people, you know, might look at that in a weird way, like, how is it really God? Or how do we know it was God? And that's some of the questions that he asked in the book. He has questions about all type of things about life. And then, you know, God will give him, you know, the answers to things, and he kind of would write that out and turned it into a few different books. I know it's at least 3 volumes of it, but it's an interesting read. So who am I or anybody else to say that that wasn't actually God talking to him? God talked to and expressed himself or itself through a lot of individuals in the Bible, right? And that's where some of the stories came from, huh? So is that not able to be happening in this day and time? Something for us to think about. It's like, what's your personal connection with God? Anybody that's watching, what's your personal connection with spirit? Some people don't even believe in God. I remember having a studio experience one day where it was a guy that was, you know, he was a Christian, and he really went hard for, you know, Christianity. He would be one of the guys with signs on the side of the street corners and stuff, like, you know, God, Jesus is coming back, and all of this stuff. He was really on fire in that particular way, you know, and hey, wore fatigues and boots, and was like, hey, you know, I'm a soldier for the Lord. But then he came in the studio, and there was a guy in there that was an atheist. And so I don't know how we got talking about religion, but the guy might have asked him, like, hey, you know, do you believe in God, or you believe in Jesus, blah, 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 whatever it went. And the guy was like, no, I don't believe in that. So then this guy just kept on pressing him, like, man, you don't want to go to hell, do you? You don't want to go to hell, do you? And he's like, what you talking about? You don't want to go to hell, do you? Repeat after me right now. He's like, what? Man, you want to be saved, don't you? Repeat after me right now. You know what I'm saying? And it was just a weird exchange to me, and the guy was really offended by it. So now as he moves through the world and he gets another experience to where he's exposed to, you know, Jesus or religion in a specific way, how's he going to feel that next time? You know what I mean? Because this
Right.
other individual had to feel like they had to just place themselves or their particular religion or their belief system on this guy in a way to where it was just completely I'm trying to think of the right word to say for it. It was
Like
uncomfortable.
turn them off.
Yeah, let me just say it. Yeah, it turned
Yeah.
them off.
And I think, you know, what our approach is when it comes to spirituality, man, like we have to do a better job sharing our views with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, one of the things I did like from the Bible, Jesus' brother, no, Peter's brother, um, he wasn't the big, strong, powerful speaker that Peter was.
Yeah.
You know, Peter was the leader of the clique. You know what I mean? But his
Mm-hmm.
brother would take people one on one to Jesus and have the conversation where Peter could speak to a multitude of people and bring in so many people just by speaking in one setting.
Mm-hmm.
I said all that to say this is that, you know, everybody is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I've had several encounters where people that were Black Hebrew Israelites, Pentecostals, you know what I'm saying, Muslims, you know, they when they hear what I believed at the time, they like, oh man, you believe in that, you know, you need to come this way, you need to come that way, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm free to feel and believe what I want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, we ain't got to be aggressive in trying to make somebody or force somebody into doing something that they don't want to do. Because it's like, you know, the Bible speaks of free will.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe wholeheartedly, we still have free will. We have the right of choice to decide what we want to do.
Yep.
How can you take that from me?
Mm-hmm.
How can you try to force me or manipulate me or pressure me or guilt me into doing something that I do not want to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, you know, for me, you know, most of my family still Christian. I am not, but in the same sense, and some good friends are still Christian. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, you know what I mean? But in the same sense, um, I let them believe what they believe and they let me believe what I believe. My family does. You know what I mean? They accept, okay, he don't, you know, are they concerned? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Do they, you know, and they have the best intentions, you know what I mean? So I don't trip about it because I know, you know what I'm saying, from that perspective, what the thought process is. But if they want to know something, I tell them. If not, I keep it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Man,
what I'm saying?
that's that's a man, that space right there, man, can be kind of a uncomfortable space, man, and it's like a space to have to learn to navigate, you know, because it's like, you know, I have a, you know, family member and they actually a Jehovah Witness, so it's, you know, I have to kind of know how to navigate conversations and topics according
Right,
to the things that I bring up because it's like you don't want to step on anybody's toes.
right,
But then some people in religion, man, they don't keep that in, you know, they don't have that, you know, in consideration, man. Take that in consideration to where they don't look at stepping on anybody's toes. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is what I believe, and I'm gonna make sure people count how many people they save. Like, yeah, I didn't save or help, you know, 20 people, you know, come to this, blah blah blah, you know, come in or whatever, and taking more, you know, of account on the numbers and all that. But some people feel like that gets them closer to glory by, you know, the more of the people that they, you know, the first word that came to mind is convinced, but it's like more of the people that they, you know, get to come in, you know,
yeah,
whatever that
convert,
particular
yeah,
situation is, you know, which I guess I can understand that, you know, but I just look at it. Before, man, you mentioned something about just people have different languages and people have different ways of communicating, man. And you mentioned the
right,
word, I think it was bad, you know, like when my wife, when I first met her, she uses bad in a way to where it's good, like, oh, you so bad, you know what I'm saying? And you know, kind of like I guess Michael Jackson might consider bad to be a good word in this
yeah,
song, you know what I'm saying? But it's
yeah,
like when I first had heard it, I'm like, bad, you know, like, wait a minute, you know, what you mean by bad, you know? And then I had to learn, like, oh, okay, her bad means good. And I just had to keep reminding myself of that because I would automatically kind of, you know, get into a mode of like, okay, bad. What, oh, dang, I got to check my mind. That means good for her, you know. And I remember an experience with I think we was, you know, talking in a conversation with my mom in one particular random setting, and she might have said bad for the first time to her, and she had to kind of, she was looking, I seen her mind kind of go like, bad, and I was like, oh, that's her, that means good to her, you know what I'm saying? Oh, okay, because she was like, yeah, you just, you bad, or you cute and bad, or whatever. I'm like, okay, all right, just kind of like Michael Jackson might be on the thing of bad, but when I was in one of my therapeutic trainings in California, I tell a lot of people this story. We had an exercise because we learned a lot about communication and how people have different means of communication. Different words mean different things to different individuals. So we had to write down. We talked about this before on this conversations, but we had to write down the word sex on the paper and then write down 5 words to where that meant to us. You know, you got, you know, some, you know, think about all the different amount of, or different words that's on there from different people. Now you had some women that had things like job, you know what I mean, work. You know what I'm saying? You had some guys, you know, that might mention more on the pleasure side or more on the release side, but everybody had a different 5 words on there. So that shows you that different words mean different things to different people. You know, people might say the B word, you know, the cuss word. Some women use that with their friends as a term of endearment. You know what I mean? But then some person might have experienced that word as they was getting assaulted or something. You know what I mean? 13 to 14 years old by some man in a wrong way, and then he might have called them the B word. And then when somebody say that to them, oh, boop, that pops back up in their mind. They seeing life through the lens of their experience with that word. Excuse me, just like the word, the N word. You know what I'm saying? The black skin N word. I was actually on the news because they had, I guess Chris Brown had came out with some song. Him and was it him and Lil Dicky, whatever it was, but it was Lil Dicky was I guess he was to the point to where they switched lives or whatever. And Lil Dicky, which
Yeah.
is a white rapper, he was able to live a day in the life of Chris Brown, and he was like, "Oh, I finally get to say the word in." You know what I'm saying? What's up, my in, whatever. And it was a group of white college kids, I think it was, that was on the bus, and they was singing the song and had it on video, and they got to the the N part of the song and was, you know what I'm saying it out. So then somebody on the news station was like, they wanted to come and get my take on things. So they came to the studio and interviewed me, and I was on the news in reference to that little segment. Okay, what do you think about this? And I have to realize that, hey, words mean different things to different people. Some people use it as a term of endearment. You know, I feel like, you know, us, you know, they say that we didn't took away the negative power and connotation from the word. Some people say that it's different when you say it with an A at the end versus an ER, right? But you have older people that have experienced that word in real bad times. You know what I'm saying? Some people was getting taken out of here, you know what I'm saying? And they life ended as people was yelling that word to them in a negative way. You know, I remember being in Sherwood, coming from Sylvan Hills, we getting off the bus to go to walking to the links or whatever where mom stayed at the time. And as me and my brother walking down Kill, here come a bus of kids, you know, of white kids going down, and they screaming out the window, N word, N word, you know what I mean? And I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
okay. You know, but think about if that was our only experience with the word, right? We never heard it in a nice way in songs, then how are we gonna feel when somebody says it to us? You know, whether they white or black, right? But people,
Right.
it's good to take that in consideration. Okay, how's my words affecting this person? What words should I use when I approach this person? Okay, when I say this particular word to this person, they react this way, or I see them kind of get turned off by it. Okay, let me use a different choice of wording. And some people will look at that and be like, "Oh man, I'm having to just down myself or push down, turn down myself to try to accommodate for another individual." Okay, if we go back to love, love would be, okay, let me find a way to communicate with this person. If I speak the English language and then I'm trying to communicate and get something done with a Spanish person, and they speak, you know, Spanish, okay, and I'm sitting there, I just feel like I'm just so prideful that I'm just gonna keep on speaking English to them, and I don't care what they speak, they just better get what I'm saying. How is that situation gonna go? How's that communication gonna go? Right? Until you try to understand, okay, what does this mean to them? Okay, what does head mean to them? Okay, basic, okay, all right, what does this mean? What is this word? Okay, all right, now I can communicate with them. Now we getting things done. Now we have a better relationship. So what relationships out there can y'all enhance or, you know, cause to be better by really trying to understand the communication style of the individual that you are communicating with, right? What better space of love would you actually be in with your partner or whoever you may be with or one of your family members if you were to actually take the time out through love of trying to figure out, okay, man, how do they actually communicate? All right. How's my communication style affecting them? Are we getting things done when we communicate with each other? You know, you might have to be the bigger person to actually adjust your style so that it would accommodate for a better loving relationship, right? And that's what love would do, right? So at the end of the day, it's about love if you move with love. And even some people's idea of love is distorted. Some people's idea of love is somebody telling them that they love them as they abusing them, you know, in a dark room somewhere, right? Slapping them, telling them they loving them or abusing them in some sort of way, right? Uh,
Right.
so you have to even realize that. So what is the better term, or what, how can you explain emotions to that particular person if love means something different? But the general idea of love for me is, caring for another individual, caring for them in a way to where you don't want to see any harm or anything done for them. You want the best, possible result for them in their life, in any situation that you occur with them. You want them to leave in a way of feeling good when you had an exchange with them, right? You want to empower them, right? All of those good, great words, man, is what I would attach to love. What does love mean for y'all, right? What does love mean for Soundoff?
I think you hit on it, man. The highest intention for all involved. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? The highest goodwill. You know what I mean? So love for me is it's there's action behind the words. Because some people say that they love you and it's lip service.
Mm-hmm.
But then some people love you and help you get out of the mud. I'll never forget, a good friend of mine that's like a father figure to me as a pastor. Um, I'll never forget, I was on the side of the road at 3 in the morning. He got out of his bed and came and got me.
Mm.
That's love.
Hey, come on, so many people do that
That's
now.
that's that's love. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and one thing he instilled in me, and I still hold this to my heart, what I mean, is to pay things forward. What I mean? Look out for people, in the same manner. What I mean? There are some things that, man, do I want to do it? No. But is the person in need? Do I love them? Yes. And it makes me, what I'm saying, go the extra mile for that individual. So
See, and if we can all move and operate, man, like that, man, then think about the better space that the world would be in. Pushing yourself aside to do something good to do something great for somebody else, man. That's the idea of love. You know what I mean? Because you can look at that other individual as yourself. You kind of like still doing it for yourself at the end of the day. What if we
exactly.
looked at things like that? Well, man, we
Yeah.
had a great discussion.
I
Go
was
ahead.
I was gonna say one thing, a spiritual practice is we're all one.
Mm-hmm.
We're all one, like I was sharing before, in comedic spirituality, um, everybody and everything that we see is connected to God, source. So with that being said, if I love my brother or my sister or the next man or woman, by virtue I'm loving myself. By virtue I'm loving God. That's also Bible as well.
Yeah.
So
See, that's dope. See, I'm not a part of comedic spirituality, but that concept, man, resonates with me because it's like, okay, if we look at everything as an extension of God, if we looking at a particular individual or maybe even nature, right? How are we going to treat it if we consider it to be God then, right?
yeah,
But I guess there's some people that don't even believe in God. So it's like, how would you treat it if you were to treat the thing that you love the most in the world? You know, you can probably look at it in that particular form. How would you treat it if it was you was treating it like something that you love the most ever that you can think of loving anything in the world, right? And then maybe
right.
if we move through the world practicing that, man, think about how better the world would be. How many less people would be on the street, how many less people would be hungry. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Yeah,
okay, I can't allow myself to starve and go through this because this particular individual that I'm looking at here is an extension of God, which is an extension of me because I'm an extension of God. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
yeah, man, we had a dope conversation here, man. I hope
We
y'all
did, we
got
did.
something out of that, out of here. We always talk about, man, loving yourself first, realizing what love is, whatever love means to you, which is, we can, in a nutshell, say the most best, loving, nicest, all of these good, wonderful words, to be that to yourself. And then as you start to be more like that to yourself, then you start to be more like that to the world and to others, right? And then as you do that to others, then you change in the world because now you causing these others to experience that love in a great way. And now they're going to go out and possibly do the same thing with other individuals, right? So let's do more of that, man. If y'all have anything that y'all feel like would be good for us to discuss on here, feel free to let us know. You got something to say?
Oh
Sound
yeah,
up?
yeah. What you work? What? Aren't you working on something?
Man, thank you for asking. I'm definitely working on membership platform, man. It's a
Oh,
mental
okay, yeah.
technique, mental enhancement um, uh, platform, online platform, membership platform, man, where We have the process that I mentioned before, mental emotional release. I have that in there in a way that you can experience it yourself, whether you're dealing with fear, anger, guilt, sadness, hurt, grief, and we mentioned before that I was able to, man, running gun style, just run up on or walk up on a homeless gentleman, man, and he was dealing with grief from losing his home and losing his family. And when he got to, trying to express, man, what he was going through, man, tears was flowing, man. And think about that, man, being homeless and losing those particular things, man, losing your family, your home, and you out on the street, man. Imagine that. But through this particular experience and technique, he went from, I think he said he was 7 or 8 on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst you can imagine, having that negative emotion. And then he was released. He was like, man, I see the experience, man, but I'm just numb from it. But I say that to say that that actual technique, I haven't seen nobody put it in a digital form yet. I've done it. Thank God for that. Thank Spirit for that. Thank God for that. And I have it in that particular platform, man. So it's a membership, mental enhancement, mental wellness platform that has meditation audios of me recording the rain outside and me in Mexico recording the ocean and putting it and turning it into a relaxing meditation audio, mental emotional release digital videos on there that help you get over, fear, anger, guilt, sadness, hurt, so that you move through the world as a better version of yourself. Because a lot of people out here are moving through the world looking through the lens of the negative emotions and traumatic experiences that they experienced in life. So think about being able to clear those glasses and then look through the idea of love, right? And then how you would be moving through the world. So that's in there, and a number of other different things, man. The tapping process that you mentioned, thank you for mentioning that on the last episode, I think it was, and Soundoff mentioned how it actually helps him in his life when he has, negative emotional spaces or moments that he's in, such as myself, because I have to realize, like, man, I have to practice what I preach. So I don't have a lot of, moments where I have to sit in a negative emotional space, but man, getting out of that studio for 20 years and then trying to figure it out again, I'm starting all over. And I'm having moments where it's like, hey, I still got to pay bills. I still got to do this. Things still got to connect. And then I'm getting in a little space of like feeling negative, and then actually did the tapping and did some meditation and stuff, man, through one of those audios. And man, felt great enough to take the next step forward. And then that just led into where we at now. I'm in a better mental space, man. Been good, been great. So thank you for asking. All of that stuff is in that membership platform, and it will be on mentalcoachkev.com. I'm still developing it now, but maybe mid next month to be when I start rolling it out and stuff. So if y'all interested in that, man, feel free to message me or something, or message Soundoff if you need to. I'm sure he'll forward it over to me. Soundoff, what you got going nowadays?
Yes, sir. I'm just working on a website, working on some music. Been featured on, a couple people stuff recently, so just wait for them, to release. Some people waiting on me to release. So I'm in the process of figuring all that out, and man, still working on the website. So I'm gonna have that out in the next couple weeks, next few weeks
What's the website?
at soundoffgeneral.com.
Okay. So you'll have that going here in the next few weeks or so. So
Yep.
I guess in the next few weeks or so, we'll both have them things in place. If you end up needing a therapy session, which I do hypnotherapy, if feel free to look that up. A lot of people experience it and use it as an advantage, whether it's sports or whether it's stop smoking or a lot of different things, man. Getting out of a negative emotional space or seeing a negative traumatic experience in a different way, empowering your mind and getting in a better, just more creative space or a better mind space and success or whatever. So I do that, and then the other stuff that I mentioned to you, I do that as a one-on-one session as well. So you can go to mentalcoachkev.com if you need help in any of those spaces, and I would love to help you. I just had somebody hit me up earlier today. An old studio client was like, "Man, I ain't know that the studio was closed down. Man, you like one of the great engineers that I deal with. Are you still recording?" I'm sad that you stopped recording. I told him what I was into, and he was like, "Man, I need help in that space. Send me the stuff so I can book a session." So thanks to everybody, man, that actually might need some assistance in some things and actually hit me up, man, and have the courage to step out and do so. Most definitely, man. Well, like we said before, man, put your mask on first, like they say on the plane, man. help yourself first before you try to help somebody else. Because they say that, man, if you don't put that mask on first and you out here trying to help the next person beside you or around you, then you end up passing out, right? And you'll be out here gone and they be over here moving on, right? So help
Right.
yourself first before you help somebody else. Put your mask on first means, man, do some love, self-care stuff for yourself. Take some time, man. Take you a bath or something, or if you into that, or take you a cool shower, or a nice warm shower, or go out into nature. You know, ground yourself. Go out, do some gardening if you need to. Put your feet in the on the grass, ground yourself, or hands in the dirt or soil, or go to, I don't know, big damn bridge or the park somewhere, or whatever you need to do to get yourself in a relaxed space. You know, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation or whatever. What if you make a daily practice out of doing that? You know, because we get so swayed by this world, man. So take some time out for yourself, and then making yourself better, you're gonna make others better. So hey, we gonna sign off here. You know, I was about to say sound off here.
Yeah.
We gonna sign off here, man. Y'all stay blessed, man. Y'all hold it down, man. We love y'all, man.
Peace.
Peace.